What's up guys, I'm Nate Bonner, this is NHB Knife Works, and we're going to do a little sharpening demo for you guys today, show you some tips and tricks and how to keep your blade sharp, because remember, the sharper the knife, the less it hurts when you cut yourself. So, one thing I do want to briefly touch on is you see these a lot, but you see them made out of metal. This is really buttery smooth ceramic. This tool, generally referred to as a steel, does not sharpen anything, so just be aware of that at home when you're just, it's almost like the more you do this to a dull knife, the worse it gets. This is purely for honing, and usually the steel ones are for softer knives, so like the older German, European stuff. This is a good way to hurt some nice Japanese steel, especially knives with really thin grind lines and really hard tempers. This doesn't do much for. This, because it's so smooth and almost feels soft, it's weird that this will work really well for that type of steel, but for the most part, just don't use these. The other reason is that, this is a variable you have to control, and so is this. So you have two variables you're trying to control at the same time. It's not going to have as good of results as something that's stationary, and then you're just worried about yourself or one arm. So let's start with what I like to use for sharpening, and a lot of people use the oil stones. I mean, that's fine. I've always had the best results with water stones or wet stones. Typically it's like when we're finishing a knife handle and you want to take a shortcut and I just want to skip one grit, it never works out, and then you end up either going back or spending twice as much time and money on the next grit. So with stones, it's important. This is the minimum, I would say, is probably about 4 stones. They range in price. A good stone will probably run you like 60 bucks. Really expensive ones are over 100. I don't buy the really expensive ones because I blow through them. And some of the nicer stones out there, you don't have to soak in water. You can kind of just splash water on and go. This guy over here is similar to that. This is my most expensive stone. I think it was around 100 bucks. This guy is an awesome piece of brick for, 40 bucks. The ones I buy everything pretty much from Japan. Those are going to be your best stones. And also I've got a little guy called a Gura stone, which is essentially a stone used to make a paste on here, which I'll get into in a second. One of the things that people always sort of screw up on is they'll buy really nice stones and then they don't take care of them. Stone maintenance is just as important as knife maintenance. So if you're buying these because you want razor blades to cut with, keep in mind you got to keep these nice too. So one of the things I'm going to show you is just a really easy way to do this. If you look down here, I've got my good old sort of just naturally planed out cinder block from me running stones on it. And if you want to get a close up in here, you can see that I've sort of bevel cut this stone, and what that does is, by default, it's almost acting like a lifted platform because I'm taking the lines away from it. So it's, on all sides. And I do this so we don't get what they call pressure cracks, or we don't get little sort of nicks and dings in the actual edge. So essentially I'm just creating 2 more lines right there. The reason I do this is, again, just for the longevity of the stone. So one of the most important things is planing this flat and keeping everything as flat as we can. Once you get your stone sort of bowed out, you're going to do more damage than good. And some people say, oh no, that's the way that I operate it and that's what I'm used to, and that's fine, but if you were on a flat stone, you'd get better results. So one thing I'm going to do right here is just show you really quick. I'll soak my larger stones overnight. With these guys, maybe like an hour. And what I'm going to do is find my angle for my bevel line. Right? I'm going to go flat. And so on and so forth until you have a perfectly flat surface on this guy. One of the things that you want to do when you're using this now to plane your other stones is, I actually like to spin it. It's the easiest on this to get it, pretty damn flat, running it straight like that. That's also the way that I sand things, is usually straight on. With these stones, I'll tend to more twist them. And you'll notice when you buy brand new, really nice stones, like this $100 stone, you can see how they cut it and how they sort of ground it this way. And the natural lines, or I don't want to say natural, but the lines from their machining all run like this in a circular sort of motion. So you can see that that's, you're going to get really good results with this. You can plane flat if you want to. I've always seen it done that way, and always just did it that way. So let's start with a little bit of sharpening here. This guy is 200 grits, and then I sort of jump. Like I said, this is cheating a little bit. I should probably have 2 more stones out right now. I'm going from 200 into a really sort of aggressive, I guess around 800, into a few thou, into what feels like a stick of butter. And after that, you know, I might use leather or something on my really good stuff, but we'll skip that today. So just basic stoning. I'll start with this guy. We've got a slicer here that I'm actually putting a new edge on, and this guy is a very thick spine. It's got, I wouldn't say a very, you know, transcending nice taper into a razor blade of an edge. It's actually a very sort of blunt, almost axe-like shape compared to most of my other knives. And so I really want to get a, you know, more exposed edge on this, which a lot of the, you know, more Japanese ground knives are gonna, you know, you almost don't even see the edge because there's such a, you know, easy plane taper into that, which is like, this is like 13 degrees. So this guy, we're gonna start on this stone right here. And the most aggressive of the stones, and if you make a mistake on this one, you know, it's gonna show for a long time. It takes a while to fix too. I'm gonna use a little bit of this paste to get this started, but not too much. I've noticed if you make too much of a paste on here, it'll just suck all the moisture right out of this. And you wanna keep it wet. These big brick ones has been soaking since last night, and I mean, you can almost watch the water get sucked into the stone. It's pretty amazing. So we'll start right here. One of the things that I like to do is sort of put my fingertips in front of this edge, and I want to sort of feel right off the bat where I'm at on the stone, and I'll use my finger to kind of run towards the actual edge. And a lot of the times I'll even keep my fingers in front of the edge, which looks very dangerous and stupid, but it really keeps your edge on the stone. And then, you know, you cut yourself one time and your brain tells you not to do it, and then you pretty much lock that edge in. So I'm not saying you should cut yourself, but all right, when I start, I kind of come in at an angle a little bit, and you'll see me run a little bit flat on one side when I flip the knife. Because I'm right-handed, I don't have to do that, so you'll know what I'm saying in 1 second here. Right here is sort of my, and you can see that I basically, I'm not really moving this hand much. In fact, when I flip, I'm just doing this. I don't want to take my hands off the steel, because once you sort of get in the groove, now, if you can hear that like wobbly sort of tone when it's running, that means that I am like dead on flat. And that's, you want to hear this weird like wobbly, that's the best way I can describe it. It sounds like the sound waves are bending, you know, on the stone that's coming off of it. It's like an instrument. So once you sort of get that really cool wobbly noise, you know you're right where you should be. And so if you can hear that tone, I mean, we're pretty good on there. You know, in a perfect world, and I'm not going to bore you, I'd be on each stone on a knife like this, about 8 minutes maybe, of good consistent work. The other thing is you don't want to press too hard. You know, it's actually a pretty light, fun movement to get into. I tend to go faster now that I've been doing it for a long time, but you know, when I started, it was just extremely relaxing and calm, and it's all about like getting the like vibrating noise coming off of the stone, and you really get into it and start breathing, and it's funny because just like music, you'll pick up how much sound you're putting out by your forward and backward motions, and so you can time it like it's music. So even though I operate a little bit differently when I flip my hand, I have to kind of scoot in this way, I can keep that almost tempo and keep everything in sync with each other so that both edges are the exact same. And basically, repeat, 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 repeat. If you guys have any questions or want to see anything from us, please let us know. We're on Twitter, and you can email us at info@nhbknifeworks.com. Thanks a lot.